Right now, the world is in the grip of a global race movement.
People everywhere are standing up for black rights. Rights that should be afforded to everyone, regardless of your race.
The attention initially was focused on the death of George Floyd in USA, and then the previous issues in countries overseas were brought back into the spotlight.
Australia has a black history, starting from colonisation to modern day, where over 400 First Nations people have died in police custody since 1991.
Today we're going to help push for change. This country has to take steps to be better.
We asked you what you want to know to help White Australia understand what First Nations people have been going through.
Today we are going to answer some of your questions so you can embrace this and educate yourselves moving forward so Australia can be equal.
Hi, I'm Allira and I'm a proud Yorta Yorta woman living down on Wathaurong country.
Hey, I'm Ben Russell. I'm from Taree, New South Wales, and I'm living in Geelong on Wathaurong country too.
Aren't we lucky? Now, we've got questions to ask each other that are going to be pretty intense, I think. We opened up the channels via our socials to get our allies and non-pocs to ask questions in an absolute safe space. So, do you want to do the honours and ask me, or would you like me to ask you the first question?
I can ask you first if you feel that.
Okay.
I'm cool with that. So,
All right.
first question is, so what are the significant factors that you see in someone when they support us as Aboriginal people in our culture in general?
That's a good question. Significant. I feel like the things that I would see is they would be stopping and listening to us is a really big thing. Not being, I just feel like when white people do come to say like one of our marches, for instance, or one of our rallies, it's important for them to sort of sit back, listen and engage rather than be that vocal point. I feel like that's a big thing for me. It's like just that voice. You can be that voice, but you need to let us be at the forefront. Yeah, I feel like that is pretty...
It's like letting us be the author, correct? Like,
correct. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so I think that is like the big thing. Just like step back, listen, engage, and just let us be that. We're driving the narrative, so to speak. Yeah.
No, it like makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I have a really good question. How many times do you hear, "I don't see colour" from people, and how does that make you feel?
I've been hearing it a lot, like in this period of time with like America's tragedies and everything, and seeing that it almost hurts the heart because like every country has their author and like their roots of what every country is. This country is just scrambled, and we are a country of many cultures and colours, but we are not a multicultural country. Like, this runs deep with Aboriginal people, and like, we've lived here for years, and to see them saying that, it's like it's putting aside who we are as people and what we actually live for.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like what has happened in America is absolutely shit, but you know, as black people, that's something that we have seen and dealt with for so many years, but it's just because it's such at the forefront of the media at the moment that a lot of our, you know, allies and non-pocs are like, okay, like this is a really big issue. So when people do say to me, for instance, "I don't see colour," I'm like, well, I just feel like that's your white privilege talking more than anything. Yeah.
No, they have the privilege to say that. We have to like hear that, and we respond. We turn out to be the bad person, and we just look like people just whinging every day.
Yeah.
We have no power when it comes to standing up for what we like believe in. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, but it almost feels like too, it's when we do have that opinion, it's like, hang on a second, the black person that's come out of their box, you need to get back in your box, like you're too vocal, because we come across as being too aggressive or just too intense. So yeah, it's interesting, so interesting. But yeah, I don't like when people say "I don't see colour," because I feel like it's a bit of a cop out.
It's very broad, and like it just really hits hard.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's go to my one. So, from that, like compared to other countries, as we speak about, why do you think Australia's history is neglected and our culture isn't taught enough today?
Wow, where do I begin? I mean, do I have enough time to... No, well, I feel like this stems from the start of colonization when Captain Cook came on in and been like, hey, this is my land. Because we sit under such an intense white government policy.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel as though that's why there's no education in schools. There's no cultural awareness because we have such an intense liberal government as well, where they're not taking action when it comes to culture and Aboriginality and Aboriginal awareness. Yeah, that's how I feel. I just feel like, and our education system as well is so white. Therefore, I always look at New Zealand, for instance.
No, absolutely.
And they're always like engaging in multicultural and just making sure that it is so inclusive. But Australia is, we have so much to do. We have so much to learn and so much to implement as well, without it being too tokenistic as well, I think.
Well, like, you look at it in other countries, so like when I mention it, like comparing to other countries such as like Greece, like they are known for like Greek mythology, like they're all the stories that what makes Greece, or what makes Italy, like Rome, Colosseum and stuff.
Yeah. New
Zealand, like people respect that so much, and like I think what we're trying to get at is like what is the difference? Like why are Kiwis so respected, then us we're just neglected and put behind? And today it's just known as we're a multicultural country. No, we're not a black country. No,
we're not. And it does come from like that colonisation and where the government did try to phase us all out. Because I don't think a lot of white people understand the stolen generation was there for a purpose. From the white government was to phase Aboriginal people out and for us to go and marry white people and phase our culture. So, I mean, that like says a lot. And I think people cringe as well when we do bring up, you know, what was it, 1967, our referendum. That's when we were recognised as actual human beings in our own country. We were recognised as like native plants, flora and fauna. Like, we have a really long way to go. I feel like, yeah, definitely as bad as what has happened in America, it is bringing so much great awareness to a lot of people at the moment. But I would like to think that people are going to make little small impacts for bigger changes. It's really important. Really important. All right, I've got a really good one actually, because I got so many questions from educators and healthcare practitioners, and I think this is important. So I've had a nurse contact me and they've said, how can I, as an ally, make their space culturally safe for an Aboriginal person to come on in? Like, if you were to go into, say, a doctor's office or a hospital, what's going to make you feel safe within that space?
Yeah, that's tough because I'm actually like studying sports science myself and trying to be that type of doctor, more towards sports psychology side, so like helping out with mental growth in like athletes and stuff like that. So that is like a really underrated topic, but it's like needs to be said as our health is very like, it's dangerous to us. Like we're dying 10 years younger. We're like all the health factors that are playing a role why we are dying so quickly. I think like for the doctors and the health practitioners, like, they'd have to do a bit of background checks on us, like because it's very clinical in today's day. Like I don't think the race comes into play when checking up on people, and I don't mean just us. Like there are other cultures out there that before this modern world practices came in, we had ways we'd heal ourselves. Like we would use like natural resources such as like the tree sap or well, I don't know many others, but you know we had so much ways to heal ourselves and survive without all the clinical stuff coming in. So I think even just a common conversation with us of like how we're doing, how long what we did to survive in this type of injury we have, or that's somewhere where we haven't really started, I don't think.
Nah.
So to actually take a step forward, I reckon to move forward, the doctors, health practitioners would have to get involved with us and talk to us about our history. So then they can sort of incorporate their practices and like sort of mix it up to how they can help us and feel safe.
And I think it's like from a base level, it's a matter of like, say, hospitals having that cultural awareness training and making sure that they have cultural awareness programs implemented throughout that health space, and especially the wellness space too. I know for me, like, I want to make sure that there's always a liaison there, an Aboriginal liaison, so they know where I'm from, like, what's my history, just to make sure that I'm safe.
There are some in hospitals as well. Like, I know back in my area we have one, because like our schools in our area is just so filled with like Aboriginal people. So it does make a difference, because it does make them feel safe as soon as someone is there that understands us. Like, because when we, in this world, we have to put on two identities. Like, how do we act when we're in like public, in a very like white type of area? So yeah, having like Aboriginal liaison officer in like physios or hospitals like really makes a really safe place.
Safe,
here.
Yeah. And it's almost, for me too, it's almost having that physical, like, you know, with the plaques of saying like, we acknowledge the land that we're on. That makes me feel like, okay, that's like a little bit safe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like, I could go on about the raps that organisations have, but it's very tokenistic and it's very like white driven. But yeah, I feel like if there's plaques there, a liaison, that's how most of our health practitioners can help us in that sense. But it's almost them as well, engaging within the community too, within that space, and connecting with the elders and being like, well, how do we, you know, help that community a little bit more? Yeah. So I thought that was a really good question.
That is a really good question.
Yeah, really
I think, for the doctors, just ask questions about us, like, well, how did you do this? And because we would answer them, and if some people feel offended by it, just like remind them, like, I've never learnt this stuff. So just like a common conversation can lead to so much opportunities. So.
That's it. And it comes down to as well too, like, we still have, you know, healers out in our communities. I mean, I'm a healer, but like, you go back out in remote communities and there's still like elders doing beautiful healings on our young mob to keep them healthy and safe. And it's like, well, why don't we have this in a mainstream sort of a hospital, so to speak? Because that's, for us, that's going to make us feel culturally safe. Absolutely. Bush medicine, exactly what you said before, is really important. I mean, I've got some in, you know, in my little space, it's like to help with cuts and stuff, but just simple things like that. Because I guess being in like Aboriginal, our bodies too aren't now, but they weren't built for all this like processed foods and like typical, you know, medications that we take. It's like our bodies are made for just that sort of plants and whole foods and just stuff that we can go and put paddock to plate. That's our sort of how our bodies are recognized. I don't know, but that pretty much sums up that question.
That's a really good question, because like, health being a major topic, you know, it's something we can like definitely increase our lives to be longer, like, you know, be there for our kids in the future.
I think so too. And I think, because I'm like, I know this is going off a bit track, but I'm in the wellness space and I always bring this up. I just feel, as a black woman walking into such a white dominated space, being the wellness space, there's no culturally safe spaces at all. And again, it is shit what has happened, but it is like making a lot of wellness people a little bit more woke in that sense, to make their spaces culturally safe and have an acknowledgement, or organise a welcome to country when they do open up a new space. It's so important. I mean, I could bang on for ages, but no,
that's good. So I think like my other question was, so I feel like a lot of people don't understand this, why we have our practices, and like how connected we are to the land. So like the cultural identity being so important to us, why do you think it's so important to us? And leading after this question, how can we help people better understand why it's so important to us?
Yeah, it's so important to us because we're so connected to land, mind, body, spirit. I feel like people forget that, white people forget that component of our spirituality is really important to us. How can people, I don't know. I feel like that's a really intense, tricky question. How can they be more involved without stepping out into community and stepping on toes? I don't know. What would you sort of suggest?
It's just because in this modern world, everything is so man-made.
Yeah.
And it is really hard to understand the spiritual side of things. Like when people hear, for example, stories about ghosts and like paranormal activity, like, it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Like, do you think they feel like it's hard to believe when we say like, oh, like we have Waimea in the sky watching over us, or dreamtime stories of Bunjil, or other stories like home in my area, like the Greater Goanna, Tiddly.
Yeah. Which I think people think are just books.
Yeah, no, legit.
They-
but like there are actual physical
Spirit creators.
Yeah,
and
there are actual like the features. Sorry, I can't explain the physical stones of those things up there,
That's
like
it.
Tiddly, the Greater Goanna.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it's because people are so hard to understand us while we speak that this isn't something we make up. Like when you speak of stolen generation, because people haven't seen it or experienced it, like it's not something we make up. These are events that like we suffer with, and our identity, which makes us who we are. Like we have to explain that as well, because we aren't just people that have grown up in this modern world. We've had things passed down the same way Indian people would pass down family tradition of cooking meals.
That's it.
The same way Kiwis would pass down the haka. Like
Yeah.
they have cultural schools where they teach stuff there. So
It's tricky because
it is a tricky topic.
Yeah.
But when I think about how to move forward with it, like what could be one simple step of teaching these people or showing them how to understand it? So like, in my opinion, it could be like showing these people the cultural sites and then explaining the story.
Yeah, I
So-
think it is cultural awareness. It's cultural awareness training, and I just feel as though a lot of people need to get on that bandwagon at the moment. Cultural awareness training and having a little bit of an understanding on what Aboriginal people are about, because I just feel like a lot of white people think we are just surface level, which pisses me off because we are so much deeper than that. But definitely the cultural awareness, that's where people can start and where they can sort of help themselves to help us more than anything. Yeah.
Because yeah, it's not fully up to us. Like we have cultural sites, and like I said, being this world so man-made, we can teach these stories, but if we show them eye to eye, maybe that can change like what they believe and what we tell them. So
Yeah.
so that's one thing I think that people really try to find it hard to understand when we try to teach culture, is like the strong connection we have, but it's not physically shown.
Yeah, I agree. That's a perfect segue for the next question, which was the repetitive question that I got was, well, what do you want me to do? And that's from allies, just being like, well, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to start? Where do I get resources? And I'm like, hang on a second. I'm not your educator for starters. Google's your best mate. But that was a question that I got repetitive, was, well, where do you want me to start? What do you want me to do? So how can you sort of guide me without sounding like rude? But I think a lot of our allies and non-pocs have to understand it's like we have so much information to give, but it's also really energy draining for us. And it's our free time. We're not paid to give you information. So what's your best advice for these people?
Yeah, I've been dealing with this a lot lately, and like it honestly drains me, because like we have lives too, you know.
Exactly.
We're not university lecturers where we stand on a podium and tell you like, yo, 200 and something years ago, y'all came here.
Yeah.
Oh, that is just so hard. They really have to take the initiative to educate themselves, because like, I mean, we stand up for what we believe in and we try to speak our words, but what are we seen as? Now, that just takes a whole other topic away, but they really have to educate themselves, take the initiative, and if they're struggling, just ask us questions that can sort of help guide them, not actually explain the whole thing to them.
Yeah.
So like, if someone asks me like, oh, how did you survive physically back in the day? So we'd have practices where we would burn the dead grass, bring green grass back, and then we can be like, oh, here's this link here, check this out, and then bang, that's them. Me being away from country, it is sort of hard to educate them, because like I also want to respect like what are in country, and they may have different practices to me, so it's hard for me to teach them stuff when I'm trying to keep respectful to like my brothers and sisters here. So, and that's the other thing too, like I could just say, well, I'm not on country, but you could speak to Wadawurrung people, so direct them to the Aboriginal centre they got, or even people that I've met here that are like well known. So I think you could almost make connections. Instead of going on Google, you could almost recommend them to people to reach out to.
Yeah.
But if it ends up being that constant thing of like, oh, do this yourself, it's sort of, we're going to go in circles.
Yeah.
But that is a tricky thing, yeah. But
it's energy draining. It's like that. It's the question. Like I am getting so many teachers contacting me and asking me questions. And it's like, I work a day job and I have many side hustles. I don't have time to sit here and reply to your emails and ask, like, tell you how you need to teach your kids about Aboriginal culture. Like, I'll send you the resources, but people need to do their own education before they come and ask us. Unless you're going to pay me, I'll give you my PayPal account. Like, drop some money in my account. But no, it's like, it's free work that I will not be doing. We've given so much away for free if we want to get political, but I don't work for free. I don't work for free.
Just remind me, actually, so as an Aboriginal artist as well, like, I've done stuff over in Sandringham on the other side of Melbourne, and it actually catches a lot of eyes to people, and then they start asking questions. And that doesn't really drain me because I'm in a zone where I'm doing like my cultural art, and that's where I can really teach the people and gather them around. So if people really want to learn, go to Aboriginal events. Like, not just a march, they have art festivals all around the country, like Tarnantai, Adelaide. I don't exactly know. They have the Laura Festival in Cairns. Like, I know they're different, like they're in different locations, but there is cultural festivals everywhere, and people can go there and actually take the initiative to learn where people want to teach as of messaging around. Like, so that's another opportunity pathway I see for people if they really want to learn.
I agree.
So this leads into like the constant racism and the common one we get today. So the covert racism that like people they realize it, but they don't want to show it. And I'm saying that straight out because racism is everywhere. No matter what level of education or where you're at in your life, you can be exceptional. Racism's everywhere.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you, like, I'm going to figure already that you already do. You experienced it today.
It's making me uncomfortable, the question already.
And what impact do you reckon it has on us going through our lives as kids through the young adults?
I think mentally, it's a lot. I don't think people realise that. I feel like for me personally, I grew up in a generation where I didn't experience racism directly. Like, people wouldn't refer to me as an Abo or the N word or anything like that. They would just be sort of, it's that casual racism. Oh, you're Aboriginal. I can say that, that's fine. Or, oh, like, I always get, which really grinds my gears, you speak so well for an Aboriginal, or you are so pretty for an Aboriginal. And it's like, what the hell? Like, where are you getting these preconceptions of Aboriginal people? I don't understand. I feel like the racism thing, and when people say they don't believe that racism exists, I'm like, that is your privilege speaking right now. Like, it exists, and most of us deal with it every single day, if not directly, casually. Like, it happens everywhere. Like, as I mentioned before, you could be an athlete, you know. We have examples today, like Chadwick Guard explain the tragedies in America, and then compared to today, like, all our athletes in AFL today experience the same thing. The brother boys in NRL, Josh Adokar, Latrell Mitchell. Now, Latrell Mitchell's everywhere in the media. No matter what he does, who he is, they're just targeting him for everything he does. Now, I'm bringing this up because Josh Adokar plays for Melbourne Storm. People love him as an athlete, but recently, when we stand up for what we believe in, Josh Adokar did that, and then they saw Josh Adokar, the black man. Now he's targeted just as Latrell Mitchell is. Like, it's just a constant outgoing thing. You have to be exceptional, like, as an Aboriginal person. As soon as you fail one thing, you're done. And it's that box thing. It's that stay in your box, stay in your lane. Don't come out of your lane unless you're asked to. And it's like, well, shit, like, that's unfair.
Like, this is like, it's really frustrating for us, as we can tell, like what is Australia missing, and like, what is Australia lacking towards us? Like, New Zealand's have it. They got everything they have in life that we don't have, like a treaty, they have cultural schools. And we love our Kiwi brothers and sisters, like, we respect them. But, like, it's frustrating for us because we don't have that. Like, it's almost like we're still not counted as people. That's why we don't have a treaty. And it's just hard to find the solution, like, why is racism still alive? Like,
I think people just don't want to accept that it's real too. And it's good that you touched on, like, our sports players and, like, well-known people, because I feel like they are so important in terms of changing that narrative of racism as well too. Like, they need to step out of their box more so they can change that narrative and they can make people more aware of what's happening. I mean, like, we could talk about the Adam Goods situation.
Ages.
Like, I had so many... When that happened, from a black point of view, I was like, he was so right to do what he did. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Then I had white friends that were like, he just called out like a 13-year-old girl, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no. He's called out racism. Like, he got called a name, he's called out racism. Mm-hmm. And when people sort of say, no, like, he did not do that, I'm like, yeah, he did. And if you're not seeing that, like, you obviously don't understand that racism exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Like, it's all, and then it comes to that last question, like, what do we have to do to not get racist feedback from people? Like, you can be as great as you want in life, but if you're a black man, you're going to get racism, guaranteed. Yeah. And, like, America's in the same situation. Mm-hmm. Like, as a black man, you've got it rough, like, from a kid to adult. And it's just so brittle to people's ears. Like, we mention racism, they just react like it's just...
Yeah.
The massive, like, bounce back to us is just insane. And, like, it's hard to find a solution to this. Like,
yeah.
And...
Things are changing, though. I feel like we've got some really good social activists on social media at the moment that aren't afraid to speak their truth and sort of get in people's faces a little bit. I am one of them because I just feel as though, no, people need to listen. And if people want me to stay in my lane, unfollow me. See you later. Like, I'm just going to tell it like it is because our mouths have been covered for way too long. So now is the time for people to start making that change and actually listening to us. And listen to what we have to say. But I feel as though in terms of racism, we are still going to be dealing with this for however many more years because we live under this white government, white policy that we have so many older generations who are just like, you're black, I'm white, that's how it is sort of thing. Like, you stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine.
And like to finish on that, like, you think about all the racism happening to us and how much of the population we make, like only 2%. Or what, Australia's got 23.5 million people. That's a rough estimate. And then 2% of that, that's not even a mil. And then all the racism happening to us, people think, oh, it's only these type of people. Like, we're a small target, like this world. It's happening everywhere. It's not just happening to one or two. Like, we're a small percentage. It's happening to all of us. Like, and for that to be unseen, surely that sends a message and points a hint to everyone saying, like, yo, this is happening to everyone, not just these type of people. Like, when you think about it that way, like, it's just tough.
And then let's make people really uncomfortable for one moment because I feel like it needs to be spoken about. Can you tell everyone examples of racism that you've encountered or things that people have casually said to you that you're just like, you cannot say that?
I was talking to someone when I was at my workplace about the brother boy to Latrell Mitchell, as his really close family, about all the feedback he's getting from, like, what he's doing at home. When you say someone's family, I don't say that because he's an athlete. Like, I grew up with his brothers in high school. His dad is the Aboriginal worker of the school I went to, and like, me being school captain, I was working close with him, trying to help the kids, and I was just like letting out my stress, and the other guy that was hearing it didn't understand us, and then he just said, yeah, the media picks on Abos all the time, and that just triggered me. It triggered me, and I didn't know what to say because, like, I was just so stressed about, like, everyone just not understanding why we do certain things, you know? Like, all they see is just the physical stuff we do. Like, as I mentioned earlier, they don't realise the cultural connection stuff we do when we go out camping and stuff like that. Yeah. So, like, that was one of the main issues I had to listen to. Even when I'm at university, like, when people ask, like, what culture, I say, oh, like, I'm Aboriginal, they go, oh, like, just that instant feedback, like, surely you can respond with another, like, sort of, an answer, you know, like, oh, that's cool, like, not just, oh, like, and then there's a dead silence. Like, what else do you want from me?
Yeah. Oh, you get, no, my favourite one is like, oh, you get free housing and you get free, like, you're obviously getting your degree for free, right?
Yeah. No,
because I got mine for free.
I did get those comments, so I'd post videos on Facebook about this as well, like Invasion Day and like how we feel about it. And someone did say to me, like, oh, like, all people, like, this is people in one city. All black fellas in Sydney get uni for free. And I was like, but I know people in Sydney. Uni is not for free.
No.
If we got housing for free, we would have higher home owner rates, which we don't.
Exactly.
Like the percentage of us going to uni. So like I said, we make 2% of the population. That's not even a mil. Now that's only 3.9% of that. So 15,000 of us in uni countrywide. Now, if uni was for free, would we have that number or more? Like, people don't really take into account like how hard we still have it. Like,
that's it. Yeah.
Nothing is free in this world for us. Like,
No.
We get given opportunities, but there's still no change, and like we have to figure out why. Like, and
we still have to pay our way.
oh, we could go into many topics about why, but
but that is like one of the like misconceptions of Aboriginal people. We get everything for free, or Centrelink gives you everything. I mean, I haven't walked into Centrelink since I was probably 15, and I'm nearly 30.
Yeah.
And I was the same as everyone else. Like, I was on the equivalent to Oz Study. I was on AB Study for being at high school, which is like, because I fell in that low socio-economic like backdrop. So therefore I had access to those things. But that really grinds my gears when they're just like, you get everything for free, or... I'm like, no, I've got a like $20,000 hex debt. Like, you know, I don't understand.
There's thousands of others out there. Like, they can't just pinpoint us like that. Like, they have to take notice. So we worked hard to where we want to be. Like, I didn't get a free trip from Taree to Melbourne right now to be where I want to be.
Yeah.
I had to leave my family to be where I want to be.
Yeah.
Like, people not noticing that just puts aside everything like that we fight for, like the dreams we chase.
Yeah.
It's not like we get our dreams for free.
No.
So that just really grinds my gears, because that just puts aside all our work ethic, like all my cultural beliefs that I stand for, like why I do this. I'm like, so what you do for your family, same way. Like our brother boys would do for our family.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what makes them think we get things for free, because like we bust our asses to do whatever.
To get where we need to get to, like every other person in the world. Like I still have friends that think that I get lots of things for free. I'm friends with them because I'm like, I need to change their mindset, because you've got white parents and you've got those boomer parents that are just like, no, Aboriginal people get everything for free and they get this and they get that. So it's like changing that old narrative to this new stream of, no, we are just like everyone else in that regard, where we pay for everything. Nothing is for free.
Exactly.
At all.
Thanks for watching, people. I really appreciate you guys hearing our opinions, and if you have watched this video, like, big respect. I hope you have learned stuff off this video, and as sensitive and hard it is to hear stuff like this, like, as we just accept it and we can move forward together. So yeah, thank you.
And I want to thank everyone who submitted questions, hassled me on Instagram, because my space is a safe space. And I'm here to make people uncomfortable, because I'm going to be that change maker. So I appreciate people who have stuck around and watched this, because it's important. It's important for Ben and I to have these voices as that younger generation to change the narrative of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture. So thank you for watching and engaging and making it a safe space for everyone.